Okay.
How much is it? Okay, I should get one of these.
The acquisition of the
St. Peter's?
Piazza San Pietro.
You know, a lot of it becomes being in the right place at the right time, or having just a little bit of publicity or someone knowing about you, that really has been helpful to us in acquiring basically two very large pieces at the Italian Cultural Center. The St. Peter's model, which is beautiful and fantastic, was done by Lucio Savoia. One little side note is that I knew Lucio Savoia. I knew his wife, and his wife was a chemist at Zenith, where my father worked. So, little background. And we had gotten some publicity about the Italian Cultural Center, and people knew that I was doing cultural programs. And I got a call one day from a gentleman and said he was on the train riding downtown with two people from DePaul University. And they were telling him how St. Peter's DePaul had this beautiful model of St. Peter's, and they didn't have room anymore to exhibit it, and it was in their physical plant. And he called me to tell me about it. And I said, I know the piece, I've seen pictures, and I know the man who made it. So I contacted the president of DePaul at that time and told him that I would love to have that piece, that we had a place to exhibit, and asked him why they didn't have it on display. And he said that the university had grown and things had changed, and it just didn't have a place to put it or fit in. So I sent him the information on the Cultural Center and photographs, what our plans were for it. He had to meet with his board of directors, since it did belong to DePaul University. And they did decide to give it to the Italian Cultural Center because we would provide it with a home where it could be seen by everyone. So it was kind of just somebody knowing me, somebody talking on a train, and me finding that I've got it, which is fantastic. So I hope everybody comes to see it. And then another model that we have is of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And that's kind of a strange thing where it came from. It came from Mr. Ilg, his family, and he was a German immigrant. And he invented the Ilg fan. And
Ilg fan?
ILG, just like his name, Mr. Ilg.
And it's a fan?
It's a fan. He worked for the electric company. It's a fan that they just had to use for everything. He got patents on it and whatever, so he became very rich. And it was in the 30s, and he decided to take his family to Italy. And he just fell in love with the Leaning Tower of Pisa and Pisa. So when he came back, he had a model made. Originally, I guess he had it in his office, and then he gave it to the Museum of Science and Industry for exhibit. And there was an article about, we had the Venice exhibit in here, I believe, in the Chicago Tribune, and he read about it, his son, not Mr. Ilg, Mr. Ilg's grandson read about it. And he called his dad, who lived in San Francisco, and told him about the Italian Cultural Center, and he called me and told me about this model and would we be interested in having it. And of course I said yes, I don't ever turn down too many things. And he said he had to come here, he had to see where we were putting it all. So Mr. Ilg flew in from San Francisco, and I met with him. I told him we would put it in the upper room with St. Peter's, and he gave it to us, he donated it to us, but it was at the Museum of Science and Industry, so he had to call them, he told them, he wrote them letters to release it to me. I went there with my movers, we picked it up, and we brought it here to the Italian Cultural Center. And Mr. Ilg, it's interesting about him because, like I said, he did have his Ilg fan, and he had a factory in Niles for his workers who built these fans for the electric company and for whoever else wanted them. And what was interesting is that he built a model of the Leaning Tower of Pisa on his factory grounds, so that on every Sunday he would have a picnic for his employees, and music would play from the bell tower. Mm. And actually, then he did move the factory. I don't know what happened at the end, but he did donate the land, the building, and the Leaning Tower of Pisa to the YMCA in Niles. And so if you want to see it, it's the Niles Leaning Tower of Pisa Y. Mm-hmm. So he definitely loved Italy. He had that model made by Silvestri. He's just really enthusiastic about Italy. So you never know when somebody's going to give you something or something's going to happen. And what we need is publicity and for people to come here.
Yeah. And you got to know John Bucci, the designer who contributed so much to the Italian Cultural Center. What are your memories there?
John Bucci was a little crazy. I was a little crazy, so it worked out pretty good. We came up with a lot of crazy ideas and things that we did for the Cultural Center. He was actually a friend of my father's. He met him when he worked at Zenith. And he had invited my father and my mother and all of us to his apartment once, and that's where I met him. I was about 17, I think 18. And he had this wild apartment with low chairs that he built and this round table, coffee table that he could put ice in the middle for his drinks. And we just became friends. And he was Italian, and I was at the Italian Cultural Center, so it only naturally that I would introduce him to us here. And he was very artistic. The things he could build were amazing. And he just really got involved with a lot of exhibits here in the Italian Cultural Center. He sang with our Italian Center singers and dancers. And we were just perfect friends. And he was such a good friend of my father's. And we had many exhibits. We used to do for the folk fair. Mayor Daley had every year downtown. We did an exhibit for that. And just, he would think of some crazy things. We had exhibits here. He helped with the gallery, putting things together. For the bicentennial, we had the most fantastic exhibit.
Could you tell us more about that?
The bicentennial, well, Father Feccia was talking to me one day and said, it's the bicentennial's coming up. We should probably do something for it. And I said, you're right, we should. Little did I know that we were going to transform an entire empty building into a museum filled with only God knows what, okay? On the top floor, which is now the radio station, we decided to make a ruins. And Mr. Marcucci had some Etruscan urns and stuff he could loan us, some jewelry. We had a lot of things that were just donated just for the exhibit. And I found myself with styrofoam columns, sand, digging Etruscan urns and vases and other artifacts into sand. Behind plexiglass we put them. We had, another man loaned us the last jewelry of the last Queen of Elena of Italy. We had Italian furniture that was shipped from Italy to exhibit Italian furniture in a room. We had, DePrado gave us his wife's Italian beautiful jewelry. We had it under a big cube, all displayed. We had artists, all the different artists, kinetic art, all kinds of art on exhibit. And one of the more ambitious things is we decided to have entertainment every weekend. So we had Gino Marianuccio, the Italian Cultural Choir, Paul Ciminillo, just something Italian and entertainment going. So for a whole month, we had fantastic exhibits here. There are a book with pictures in it that anyone could see. And we were here night and day. I mean, it's one of those last minute ideas we have too. It wasn't like I had 6 months to worry about building an exhibit.
What about the outdoor aspect of were some things exhibited outdoors?
Actually, the only thing we did, we had just in the pavilion, we had concerts all the time, but we really didn't have anything outdoors at that time. There was no Italians in Chicago exhibit either at that time. So we had a lot of empty space to put a lot of things in, and we did do that. It was really great.
Where did you get them?
You have to just kind of hear about people who have things and ask them if they'd like loan them to you for a while. And Feccia was hard to dissuade, and I was pretty bad too. So Colonel Frank Cesaro loaned us his entire, a huge collection of his paintings, Caravaggio's, all these masters that were millions of dollars. And he called us to come to pick them up at his apartment there in the Gold Coast. So John Bucci came in his van, and my mother had her station wagon. We pull up to his Gold Coast apartment with an armed guard standing by the door. And he just kept giving me paintings and filling up Bucci's van and my mother's back of her thing and statues. And so we drove from the guarded apartment on the Gold Coast down the Eisenhower to the Italian Cultural Center, where we pulled up and unloaded all of these $1 million paintings into the library. And all of a sudden, Feccia, Bucci, everybody says, we gotta leave. And they left me with all this stuff here. And I said, hey guys, I'm not too much for protection. So they said, oh, you'll be fine, lock the door. So I called the mayor of Stone Park, who was Italian and a supporter of our cultural center. He said, I'll send a policeman to come ride up and down around the building and ride through the circle every 5 minutes. So I had a guard. And then I called Colonel Cesaro and I said, you know, I really thank you for everything, but I have a little problem here. I said, we don't have any security in this building. So he paid for a security guard to be here for the 3 days we had his paintings. And it was a fantastic exhibit. So people just gave us, you know, loaned it. Mm-hmm. And then we started asking for people after that. A lot of the stuff that people loaned us, kind of, we convinced them to leave part of it here. Some of the furniture and different pieces, paintings and stuff. So we kind of built up a little exhibit room.
Well, what are your memories of the volunteers with the Italian Cultural Center? The people were hanging around or contributing or what and the directors, especially well, the first two directors.
I had two directors that are very memorable and that were fantastic. Father Feccia was our first director, and he just had a passion for the cultural center and getting it done and taking care of it. And we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of Italian people, mostly Italians. I was probably one of the couple Italian Americans that volunteered. My mother was volunteering, Lisa Vaccaro was volunteering, Mima Bruno, and just Anita Vento. And he'd have these things he wanted done, and we'd all just come and do them, you know. And I volunteered every day. I was a full-time volunteer. I was very lucky to have my grandmother still alive, so she was able to watch my babies. And
so you came here every day?
I was here every day. I volunteered full-time. We didn't have a secretary to begin with, so I was kind of that too. And I was here every day. And then with the bicentennial thing, I was here night and day, actually. I even had my kids coming here to help pick up pieces of wood and throw them in the baskets and stuff. My mother was here, my father was here for hours. Everybody started building. And actually, at the end, there was Lisa Vaccaro and myself and one other girl actually painted the stairway going up because it looked a little chipped. And it was so funny. We were cleaning the building before the bicentennial opened, and Lisa Vaccaro said, why are we doing this? And the other girl, I can't remember which girl, and she says, I have a live-in nanny at home. She does my cleaning, and we're cleaning stairs. And I said, my maid is here 3 days away. It was so funny. We were laughing that here we are. Father Feccia got us scrubbing floors. And then we didn't do it home. Mm-hmm. He got me painting walls. And one time I told my husband, I said, we need to get a painter. That bedroom upstairs has to be painted. He said, now, wait a minute. He says, you just painted a room at the Italian Cultural Center. Why can't you paint the room up there? I said, the Cultural Center doesn't have money to pay the painter. So he had a lot of crazy volunteers, and we did a lot. And we worked well together, and we were dedicated. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has
Mario Spampinato? What did he do around
Mario was a sculptor, very famous sculptor. And, of course, we're at Italian Cultural Center. We had to have classes in the arts. So Mario Spampinato taught sculpturing, and Francesco Ribaldo, who did the mural that's behind me, if you can see it, taught painting. And I studied sculpturing with Mario. I did a number of pieces, my two children and my father. My dad's back here. And he was just a fun man. He had a lot of fun. My father got along with him fine. They used to go out and to eat together with his wife and my mother and stuff. And he was a really nice guy. He was a lot of fun. And Francesco was the artist. And Francesco was a little bit more temperamental.
Ribaldo.
Francesco Ribaldo was an artist, and he was he was temperamental. And I remember because the Florentine room was the only room that we could use for exhibiting. And we had an exhibit here. And he came in, and we had other paintings on easels, and they were in front of his mural. And he came in and said, you cannot put that in front of my mural. And we said, but that's part of the wall. It is not part of the wall. And we had this big discussion about where these paintings could go, but nothing could go. But he was temperamental, and I always laugh about, thinking I have some of his paintings. And I said, better make sure I put these paintings in the right place or I'm going to be in trouble. But everybody here was, we got along. We had fantastic dinner dances with hundreds of people. It was just a really good experience. And then after Father Fetch, we had Father Roberto Simenato, and he was really a great priest. Very, just a gentle man, and he used to call me his boss. He'd say, I got to check with you, you're my boss. It's kind of a joke we had. And he did a lot of wonderful things here at the Cultural Center and helped to make it great. And then we have Father Fetch back now. So we've had a really good run of directors and activities. And I just think that I'd like suggestions from people on what we can do to get more people to come and see what we've done.
Okay, let's see, do I have another question? What about the Italian Cultural Center summer picnic? What are your memories of that?
Well, I've been here all my life because my mother was an organist with the Scalabrinian priests. She started at 16 when they were building Mother Caprini Church as they were raising money in a funeral parlor playing the organ for Mass in Italian. So I spent my childhood here. We used to have a lake and come out to sit by the lake in the water and they used to have a lot of picnics and operas here also. So I used to come here with my mother and just spend time with a lot of Italian people mostly, and have these beautiful picnics and the operas and dinners and things, we have continued some now. They happen not as frequently, but we do have opera under the stars, and we have picnics coming here. So it was a good experience for me. Mm-hmm. And we also did a lot of away from the center. I spoke that about it. The activities out of the center. Exhibits, and I think I said that already. Yeah, I already did that. I can't repeat myself.
What about the role of, say, someone like Tony Fornelli?
We had a lot of supporters who supported us. Tony with the Frenoy, with the Veterans Museum, that did, in their quiet little ways, a lot of wonderful things for us. And he was a wonderful man, and
He was the first man of the year, was he not?
I think Vento was the first man of the year, if I remember correctly. But I'll have to look on the list. But I know Vento was up there with one of the first. It was either Fornelli and then Vento, maybe.
Okay. Future. What does it look like?
I think that one of the things is that we have a number of Italian organizations that are coming here now for events and looking at it. We need to expand a little bit because we used to invite schools to come out for tours of the Italian Cultural Center. Those who have an Italian class, a lot of them didn't even have an Italian class, they just came for tours. And it was able to give them brochures on the Cultural Center to bring home to their parents and make it known. We had senior citizen groups who came here, but we had to warn people about the stairs, a big problem, and all kinds of groups. So we need somehow to bring more people to know we're here, and we just talked about it. I would love it to be listed somewhere when they have museums in the Chicagoland area for the Italian Cultural Center somehow. I think that is a stopping point. But we need to figure out how to work that out. That's publicity is the most important thing. For some reason, we have everything here fantastic, but we don't have publicity, and we need to work on somehow getting that out.
What about your experience with Italian language teaching here at the Cultural Center?
We had Italian classes for children and for adults, and because I never really studied Italian, I just heard Italian my entire life. I was at Mass in Italian every morning. My mother was the organist. It was in Italian. I went to the convent with the nuns who spoke Italian. I belonged to Italian groups that spoke Italian, but I never really studied Italian. So I did study Italian here. I had a beginning class, but I had a lot of vocabulary, just bad grammar. Mm-hmm. So then I went to another more advanced class, and Gloria Nardini taught me the advanced class, and we did a lot of conversations and stuff like that. So But they had really great teachers, and the kids' classes were great too. And my children went to kids' classes. They have an Italian camp in the summer my grandchildren went to. So we have a lot of things going on here that should be somehow publicized a little bit more.
Okay, I think that about does it. We can fill in some blanks as we go along.
Okay.
Thanks, I'm sorry, I'm sleepy.
You look like you're dying. And... Oh, Patrick's here. Okay.
Good timing.
Alrighty, and I have, like I said, all the stuff I have, I'll just send to you.
Yeah, I'll upload these files and cut and paste the rough draft and send it to you.
Okay.
And you can use it maybe as an outline, add things that you
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
forgot.
Yeah.
Move this paragraph
Yeah, some
to
stuff
the
might be a
end.
little
where you-
weird.
Stuff is not in.
Yeah, I know, I just got about Okay.
Did you want this?
Oh, if you give it to me, sure, it was wonderful.
We're in the number.
Crazy man. Are you interested in keeping I forgot to ask you if you wanted that. Because I thought it, with the history of the folk dancing and the costumes and music, and I thought it was something that was,
Was it a dissertation or something, or what?
my mother had it, and she used it for music for background and whatever. And, history of, I don't know. History of the costumes and folk traditions. And history of the costumes and music. Yeah. If somebody ever wants to know that, it has it all.
Well, we have somewhere on our website, all of the, about 50 slides of the costumes that were put together by the Joint Civic.
But if you don't want to, I'll take that.
Oh, no.
Somebody else. My buddy Copper's.
Oh, I mean, it's fine. We'll put it on.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're thinking about a book that looks like, like this.
Uh-huh.
And be filled with, well, maybe not just your own,
Well, I just do my mother and the whole thing. I have pictures of the whole thing. Come on, the black and white.
and maybe there could be other people who would do interviews. bacteria of it. Already going? So early. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to interact with you much. Hope you're feeling better. Okay. Take the color out of Debbie and see if there's anything left. I will. you saw Lee?
Pardon?
Did you see Lee?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, do you want to leave this door open so you get some coolness?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of the Puma family is what we do.
Yeah.
I'm just giving my Olivia here, the Italian girl. You met her at the
Olivia.
parade.
You're LT girl?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever meet Caroline Claus?
I think so.
I mean, you look a lot like her. She might be a little taller with the long hair. And,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably advanced placement, Spanish, and
She said, what did you have, you took Spanish up until 6th grade, and then 6th, 7th, or no, up until the 7th grade. 7th year was French. She got 3 years of French, and then she took Italian last year.
oh, that's great.
So 3 years of French and 3 years of Italian.
French and Spanish, French is basically the same language, but
Yeah. Overlap.
different endings and plurals. Most of it's probably a help to know the other.
Yeah, well, I'll get you some stuff and email me what we got.
Yeah.
Go from there.
Yeah, well, I think that's the looks of that are good.
Yeah.
They just as a note, they asked to have paper inside. The sailor, it's got color inside, complete color. So they're selling it for $30. And I think they could buy it for more like 20. And so what you do is just publish it for yourself and your family, and they end up being $20 a piece, plus shipping.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when you publish a book, people think you have to have a big amount up front, et
Yeah.
cetera, and pay. But if you can, poor Jason's been working day and night on this stuff. There's a lot of complicated stuff. Basically, straightforward text and pictures inserted. It's relatively easy, and if you have someone who's done it before, that's all to the good. And I'm hoping that Jason sticks around more.
What's he working on now?
He's got a lot of experience. This is my book in Italian.
Oh,
From
okay.
the Chicago's Italian.
Yeah.
It came out in Italian
Oh, great.
in 2010. But it's exhausted now. I published it in English. And so I decided to just take it back and publish it on Amazon and insert pictures. They had a picture section when it was first published in the middle, but they didn't relate to the things as you go along.
Right.
So
That's great.
this is on women in politics. So.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. And I'll see you in
Well,
November.
thank you.
If you questions, Lucio or anybody, and I'll get a hold of, I got to try to find Barbara Savoya's daughter's number.
Yeah. You know, an alternative might be if you're right to just sit down and write.
Yeah, I can do that.
Or make an outline, right?
Yeah.
And that might be easier than revising a really rough draft.
Well, let's see what it is and how it comes out. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Nice seeing you.
Bye.
Well, bye. You take care of yourself and
You too.
enjoy LT.
Thanks. Bye.
I was
Open
trying to look for
port.
this one here. I haven't found
Martin
the place
Pietri?
yet.
Oh, did you,
Place in the text.
did you search on
Yeah, I tried
Martin Pietri? A period, D period?
A period D
Period,
D period. Yeah, I don't know if that's the first.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I tried
telephone.
punching it in here and it didn't respond, but maybe it was because of that.
Will it charge
should-
from
should-
there, you think? Or probably,
Well, probably.
I could go to one of the
You
others.
can go into here directly.
Oh, okay.
That should charge.
Let me throw this away.
Well, I guess the only one I can find is
Is it the AD Martin PhD?
it's right near the women social workers lead a strike discussing settlement. Is that?
No. That's the only one?
Well, unless I'm doing something wrong.
Okay.
AD.
Let me find out. Where.
We'll just do a search on the whole name.
Here I have it. Oh, it's we have it as Anzuino D instead of AD, and it's on page 112.
What should it be searching as? A
Well,
space.
it's on page 112. Al-Sul.
Yeah, the pages change a little bit, but
Yeah.
is it here, Mary?
And
Mary-
Zuino. Marim
M-A-R-I-M?
Yeah.
P. Okay. All right. I problemi? Is that the paragraph? I problemi?
Yes.
Okay. Is this him here? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
you seen Lucho?
No, I haven't seen him since,
Okay.
I don't know if he's still here or not, I'm not sure.
I think he left, he didn't tell me anything. Okay then. See you.
All right.
Oh, there it is. No, I'm looking for a top like that. Like this. Look at that.
That, you mean?
Oh, top.
Oh,
That covers the bucket. I guess not.
I don't know, unless it's in the archives.
¿Verdad, el sábado? ¿Se ven tus cosas? Sí. ¿No llegan eso, no? ¿No llegan eso? Nobody was here? Only came yesterday? I didn't come, okay. Because it was Wednesday. Pero, huh? Also, this Saturday. Perché ma qualcuno è venuto, non ha trovato nessuno, si è arrabbiato. Non so qui. Non so qui. Ah. Lucio, non te ne vai quando non lo facevo.
Oh, you put Scariano in, okay, good. Leave a spot on the right. I'll put in a translation or,
So a box, a text box?
yeah, we'll put a box on there, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Some of these things are getting thrown off. I don't know not sure how it's going to be.
Well, a basic thing is to, take a paragraph, but from,
Yeah, because I have to get the chapter. It's really kind of starting at the beginning of the chapter, and then as the chapter flows through. I gotta see where this.
Oh, you found Florence? Good. You're a pretty smart cookie.
So there's okay. So I guess should I move him over here?
I think you can. Oh, no, you can move that paragraph over there.
Oh, just take.
It'll come before him.
Even though it's taught. Now remember, it's going to be in the. You'll be reading about it before you see him.
You have to turn the page to
Right.
get to it?
I think,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, I think you could probably cut that down. Is there's how many lines you got? It's 14 lines.
Unless there's any other photos in this chapter that we're missing.
Political.
Is there anything before? Anything before?
I got tired.
Let's see what comes after. Works.
Now I thought I saved a Peter Fosco headline.
On the drive, you know?
Yeah. I don't see it. It's lower. Was at the top?
Yeah.
Nice try. No.
No.
No. No.
That's it, unless it's in one of these folders.
No.
Is it on your phone?
I don't think so.
Was it something that you saw on the drive when it had all the photos?
No, it was new. I just did
Oh.
it last night. Click on that, see if somehow that, no.
Those are the advertisements.
make a space for it. Maybe I'll just do the headline.
Where did that go?
Peter Fosco. Maybe in the part about labor unions. Here I have, it was page 111.
Yeah, is that right before AD? The section before that?
Yeah. Emigrati Pizzonese.
Well, right in there
Yes.
somewhere. Let me make this bigger.
Oh, Li Immigranti. See, third paragraph on the left-hand page.
Third paragraph?
Yeah, his name appears here. So, in between paragraphs would be okay. Or to start the
Is it
paragraph.
Peter and Angelo for up there?
Yeah,
Is it right in here somewhere?
yeah. Before Li Immigranti.
Okay. I guess that pushes AD to the next page too. Then. Let's see. Now I gotta go back to the beginning of the chapter. Alright, that's on the wrong page now.
Okay, this is where
Yeah. So that was for who again?
Peter Fosco.
Am I missing a paragraph? Oh, there it is. Okay, that's all right. That's your subheading, right? Is that
Yeah.
okay? There's a little space there. There's a little space there. There's some space. chapter. All right, so there's a few little spots in that chapter that have some open space. But do you have any other photos planned for that chapter?
I don't think so, but let's see what the text around the empty spots is. That's a great way to write a book, huh?
I think it's good up to there. I gotta double check now. Yeah, that.
Okay, Familia Cuneo.
Otherwise, there's not really enough to move that. There's not enough space.
Maybe, well, let's put a Cuneo question mark picture or any other symbol of the Italian Chamber of Commerce.
Or who?
Or both, or Cuneo.
Alright, to finish everything that he asked me to.
All right.
I'll take the computer on, is that right?
Yeah, I think we're done. Well, yeah, I guess we'll leave it on for now. We might need some. All right.
Alright. Bye-bye.
Yep. See ya.